rotten eggs. It smells so bad I can't breathe with my nose.
Welcome back everyone, and welcome to the Yellowstone video. We're going to do a little change in format here. Some of my friends and family were telling me that I'm way too pretty to just be a voice and that I need to show my face a little bit, so I'm going to start doing that. Also, I haven't said this on the channel, but we're a couple of years behind actually with these videos, and so when I was filming the videos like this Yellowstone one, we had no intention of doing YouTube, and so I didn't narrate too much when we were on site. In hindsight, I regret not having done it, but I didn't know we were going to put it out to the public like this. In some of the more recent stuff that we've done, I have started narrating more, so I think you'll see over time as this goes along. I'll do most of this voiceover type stuff will happen on location, which I think will be a lot better. We came in from Cody, so we drove through the east side and we were headed to Fishing Bridge. We had a 7-night reservation in Fishing Bridge. Made our reservations a year ahead of time. You'll hear all over the internet how hard it is to get a campsite in Yellowstone, and sure enough it was. So we were thankful to have these reservations. As far as the campground is concerned, it was a lot like I had heard. Really, if you have any intention of hanging out in the campground, you're going to be disappointed. But I don't think that's why people go to Yellowstone. So, you know, the truth is, it served its purpose. It was a place to park the camper. It gave us utilities. We had showers in our trailer and sewage and full utilities. So it was great in that respect. But the roads were in terrible condition. You are packed in there like sardines. I mean, if windows are open, you're going to hear your neighbors talking. We had a tree right at our entry door to our camper, and the bugs were ridiculous, basically. So as far as the campground's concerned, not very impressed. But that's not why you go to Yellowstone.
Rock and roll.
Next time, I think we're going to probably stay in the canyon area, right around the falls and the canyon. That seemed to be a more central location. I had heard a lot of people saying that Fishing Bridge was central, but it sure didn't feel that way to us. And the fact that we might not have utilities in another campground, I don't think that's a big negative at Yellowstone. The weather was such that we didn't need air conditioner. So we were really on edge about being in bear country. We had never been in bear country before, and I had a can of bear spray, so we were going to carry that with us. Little concerned about having never used one. But fortunately, we got to the visitor center, and there was a ranger there that was letting folks test the cans of bear spray to see what it felt like and maybe feel more sure of yourself in the event that you ever had to use it. So our first drive was out towards Hayden Valley one afternoon, and we stopped at the Mud Pits first.
We're at Mud Pits Boardwalk, and we're gonna go over to Mud Pits. I can't hardly smell because it smells so bad. Oh, it smells like sulfur. It is sulfur. It's rotten eggs. It smells so bad I can't breathe with my nose. several decades, it erupted in explosive 10 to 20 foot bursts of black mud. Over the years, it has moved 200 feet to the southeast and become relatively quiet. However, as change is constant in Yellowstone, the black dragon may one day roar back to life. Oh gosh, it doesn't actually stink.
So it didn't take long to be surrounded by Yellowstone wildlife. We were right in the middle of wildlife, it felt like, for the entire week. And it's not all that bad to be stuck in a buffalo herd.
Look at him go! Look at him go!
That was cute.
And on that very first night on our way home, we saw our first bear. And we also caught a ranger program.
No, I think that's a black bear.
Yeah, so it's a cub, right?
So the roads in Yellowstone are vaguely shaped like a clover. It does take forever to see the park. So people who say they've seen the park and they have a 2 or 3 day visit, it's not possible. Maybe if you were only driving the loops, you could do the drives in a couple of days. But if you want to see anything, and certainly if you want to get off into any backcountry, which we didn't do that much of, but I would say a five days is sort of a sweet spot. You'll feel like you've seen a good bit, but there's still a ton more to see, and so we could go back over and over and see new things every time. So our strategy for the first day was going to be taking the southeast loop of the Clover. The southeast loop is known as the Geyser Loop. It includes Old Faithful, and we wanted to make sure that if the weather turned or anything happened that we were going to have to leave the park, that we had at least seen Old Faithful.
That lake. It was a lake, or it could have... No, this is the lake. It used to be a lake. No, that lake erupted. Mom, that whole lake erupted?
If there's any part of Yellowstone that feels like you're in the middle of Metropolis, it's the Old Faithful area. So be prepared for plenty of traffic, huge parking lots. You could lose your car in these parking lots. You know, the crowds really do take away from the experience. I've heard in other places people discussing the idea of maybe limiting the number of people that can be in a park. And I know there's lots of reasons, pros and cons, to either support that or be against it. And at least on this day, when we did the Geyser Loop, we were feeling like we wished that the number of people had been limited.
That was cool.
That was cool.
Yeah. Oi! Oi!
All right, so we just saw Old Faithful blow. What did we think?
It was epic.
Amazing. It was beautiful and amazing.
Epic. Legendary. Yes.
One of the first things that might take you by surprise with the Old Faithful location is how much there is to do right there. It's not just the Old Faithful geyser. There is a whole series of trails back behind Old Faithful, and we walked sort of about a half of those loops that are available and saw plenty of things, and there was a lot more that we didn't do, but you could count on at least several hours at the Old Faithful location if you did all of the hiking, maybe a half day, maybe even more.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Listen to that.
Yeah. I want to touch it. It looks like chocolate milk. You know what? Ow!
It is a recording.
Watch out, watch out, watch out.
Oh my.
So on another day, we went to the canyons area, and it's called the canyons area, but I think of it more as the waterfall area. This is where you'll find the upper and lower falls in the canyon, and that iconic view down the canyon to the waterfall. There were a few easy hikes out to overlooks around the canyon, and they were really easy, had phenomenal views, pretty neat little hikes that everyone can do. We also hiked to the brink of the upper falls and the lower falls. The power of these falls are amazing when you get right up to the brink. It's well worth the effort, but you do have to pay a price to get to it. Now, anyone that's an avid hiker or in pretty good shape, you're gonna think that this hike was maybe not that much. But for a fat aging teacher, I'll say it was challenging. All right, guys, what do we think of the lower falls?
Very fast. Very fast.
I'm videoing.
Oh. Hello, boy. That's the fall. Seemed larger from a farther distance. Just
Explain to us why we're not seeing buffalo.
Because we're going uphill. And we're on a cliff. Switchbacks, too.
How many so far? Have you counted?
Why are we not seeing buffalo?
I don't really know.
Yes, you do.
Because they're bison. They're not buffalo.
Duh.
So Ethan, why aren't we seeing any buffalo?
Because they aren't in America. They're in Africa.
Don't cut out the first part. I swear if you do.
Alright, and what do you think of the Lower Falls Rim Trail?
I'm almost dead.
Hate it.
You hate
It's like
it?
Inspiration Point.
It's like Inspiration Point.
Yes, that little part that got us very, very tired and made us run out of water.
Who's the most willing to do these adventurous hikes here?
None of us.
Your daddy.
No.
Nobody'd be on a trail if it wasn't for me.
You drove us into this mess and you never searched it up.
I didn't. So the boys earned their junior ranger badges while we were here at the canyons area, and so we stopped in and picked up their badges, which was really cool because they're the 100th anniversary badges, which are wooden. They're not the typical golden plastic badge. So we're frugal when we travel. I'm often picked on for being frugal, or actually the word they use I think is cheap. We almost always picnic or cook in the trailer. But money isn't our only motivator. Picnicking gives us the freedom to be on our own schedule. We don't have to find a restaurant. We can go wherever we'd like, and the food's always with us. In most of these national parks, I couldn't imagine having to find a place to eat like a restaurant. It would chop up at least half your day. Besides, who wants to be in a restaurant when your other option is eating in a place like this? Y'all are in a movie.
Oh.
Hey, boy. Thanks for joining us in part 1 of Yellowstone. Stay tuned, part 2's on its way.